Hello and welcome to this session today. My name's Mike Shuker, and during the course of the next 10 or so minutes, we're going to be taking you through how organisations can bridge the gap between financial, non-financial and regulatory data in modern corporate reporting, which is heavily influenced by sustainability ambitions of organisations. The head of solution consulting at Wolters Kluwer, working with the CCH Tagetik product. And during the course of the last probably 12 years of my career, I've spent a lot of time working with FTSE 100 organisations, helping to support them with a finance transformation roadmap and for plans for the future and future-proofing their organisations. That attention has now turned to sustainability and broader corporate reporting and how we put a plan in place around that. Now, during the course of this session, we're going to be exploring a few different themes, an evolving landscape that organisations face in the context of sustainability and corporate reporting. We're then going to be looking at how different departments within an organisation now have extended responsibility in supporting sustainable growth. And then we'll move on to look at how the right technology can underpin an organisation's unified data strategy. So over the last couple of years, when it comes to the complexity, let's say, of corporate reporting and sustainability, I've worked with a number of industries and organisation types, but one common recurring theme that always comes up in reality is how we get a foundation of data in place and how we future-proof ourselves against any upcoming disclosures and voluntary reporting that we need to do. And I think it's a big question that has many different approaches. Some organisations are looking at this from a regulatory perspective and making sure they're compliant. But I think others out there are really going for a best-in-class approach. So their heavy sustainability objectives are driving the fact that they're looking to almost a North Star approach here. They want to be able to capture all of their operational changes, see what the impact is from a sustainability perspective in terms of net zero, decarbonisation, but also ensure that that information is traceable and makes its way through accurately into their reporting. I think this is a kind of marked shift in approach, because in the past, organisations always had to factor in financial statements, and that was a kind of real measure of company performance. But sustainability and ESG achievements are now a real window into an organisation and how well it's doing. I think that's a major change from a regulatory perspective. The other side to this, ultimately, is that companies need to turn to technology to enable this to happen effectively. The idea of being able to sort of get by, if you like, with lots of manual effort and Excel may not be the best approach here, and where technology offers you, the data hub that you need to store this information and collect it, the ability to kind of coordinate between stakeholders, but also the fact that there's out-of-the-box reporting available. Now, the challenge here, I guess, is the balancing act that when we look at analyst studies, ESG and sustainability reporting has a real high profile and priority amongst stakeholders, but we know it's still, from a short-term perspective, quite easily subjected to budget cuts. We can take the annual report as a really good example of how this has evolved. And over the last 6 years, the Wolters Kluwer example I'm showing on screen has jumped by 25% in terms of just pure volume of disclosure. And if we dig into why that is, here we can see that there are now more chapters of information that are needed across strategy, across sustainability, across risk, and even into tax and Pillar 2. So that explains why there's kind of more work behind the scenes going into this, but also there's a bigger stakeholder landscape who want to be able to consume this information to understand how a company is performing. And so I think the ideal solution underpinning this has that interconnectivity between these chapters. If we talk about pressures on corporate reporting and sustainability disclosures, I think here we've tried to summarize some of the kind of growing challenges that organizations face. from whether that kind of ranges from growing accounting requirements. So for instance, we have the ISSB releasing IFRS S1 and S2 requirements in June 2023, and that comes into play next year, which adds a level of complexity to organizations. We also have growing regulatory requirements. So if you're a European organization with substantial operations, then EU taxonomy and CSRD now also kick in and put an extra level of reporting requirements on you. I think there's also voluntary frameworks. I speak to a lot of organizations who are taking kind of SBTI targets really seriously and CDP disclosures. And that's a reflection of their kind of North Star best-in-class approach. But obviously, it does create a back office challenge in gathering and collecting all that information. And that really takes me on to the next point here, that we have a growing data volume challenge. Corporations are now looking for more access to easily available non-financial data to drive decision-making, but also performance reporting. And as I mentioned, the stakeholder landscape is getting ever bigger, with ratings agencies and other key parties such as employees and customers really taking a look into this. Now, it's not all pressure. There are opportunities to be realized as an organization really embraces this kind of opportunity to drive sustainable growth. I think there's also the knock-on impact of engaging potential investors. There's the idea that this is underpinning the winning new business and even retention of customers, where procurement cycles now even require you to support your ESG performance. And that is used as a benchmark for you against your competitors. Equally, it's about attracting and retaining talent. So for those that don't have an effective ESG strategy and are not reporting and benchmarking against their peers, ultimately that's going to be seen, I would say, and result in a bit of a drain in attracting the best talent and retaining the best people within an organization. I think all of this is quite well summarized by some of these priorities we see here for business leaders. And I draw your attention to point 2 in the list, whereby it's seen that we need to start being more effective in the way that we collect and report on non-financial ESG and sustainability related data. I think technology is an enabler for that. And then also point 4 here, where we need to lead with a digital first mindset and put the foundations in place to future-proof our organizations against any other KPIs and the myriad of frameworks that we need to report against. Now, as we kind of move into how Wolters Kluwer is helping organizations to handle this challenge, we can see here we've boiled this down into 4 main areas where Wolters Kluwer supports sort of driving digital transformation in this arena, from collection and acquisition of data across different facets of the business. So EHS, supply chain, HR, finance, all being factored into that collection and aggregation of data. The analysis of that data, so the fact that we can leverage that to find outliers, to track performance, but to leverage AI tools that are provided to provide insights to the business. From a reporting standpoint, there's out-of-the-box support for all of the frameworks that we've been discussing across GRI, SASB, the taxonomies. Those are maintained as libraries within the solutions that Wolters Kluwer provides. And from an assurance perspective, there is inbuilt audit trails and transparency. So you're able to drill through in any of the detail that you're exploring and see the full backup for that in one place. And I think coming back to that corporate report that we've been discussing and how that looks, CCH Tagetik as a product from Wolters Kluwer is a solution that really has that interconnectivity between processes, and you're not dealing with siloed data. And I think from a collaboration perspective, that's really supportive. But what it also does is enable for interoperability between the processes. So where a sustainability goal is set out and where operational changes are met, you can effectively see the ripple impact on overall company performance. And here we've set it out in more of a timeline version, where we're going right the way from data acquisition and importing that information all the way through to disclosures. And you can see there are multiple processes here where we're supporting organizations to meet their reporting obligations. So to summarize, really, some of the content that I've been covering today and the world of corporate reporting in the context of sustainability and how that's evolved, hopefully you've been able to see some of the challenges that I've been highlighting, and maybe that's a reflection of what you're seeing in your business, but also to see that there are solutions and there is technology out there, such as that provided by Wolters Kluwer, that can really benefit you in getting ahead of the curve and setting out that foundational data hub that's required to track ESG performance and produce the right reporting. So thanks for listening to me today. It's been a pleasure. If you would like any more information, then feel free to reach out and contact us at the email address displayed on screen. Thanks very much.